You know, in the Arkham games, there's going to be a lot of what if theories, right? On what if this character lived and what if that character lived. Well, today we are going to be going over probably the most important character besides Batman in the Arkham series, and that would be the Joker. What if Joker survived Batman Arkham City, which essentially just translates over to what would have happened if he was in the game Batman Arkham Knight, but alive. Not the dead version, right? The alive version. So I'm going to be going over my thoughts, my opinions, what I think would have happened if Joker was in Arkham Knight, because it would have changed some things, but it could have made some certain dynamics even stronger than that. Now, I will just preface this by saying this is just my opinion, and you guys are welcome to agree, disagree, add, take away, keep it as is, whatever you guys think, because there are no wrong answers here, because this could have went in a multitude of different directions with the Joker, because there's so many things that you could do with him. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and this is What If Joker Survived Batman Arkham City. The first thing I'm going to address right away is I don't think that Scarecrow would have been in this game. Simply for the reason that the last time Scarecrow was in a facility with the Joker, he nearly got torn apart by Killer Croc, and I don't think that Scarecrow would want to be in the same building or same vicinity as a guy like the Joker. I understand that Gotham is a very big place. However, I just don't think he would have made this massive plan to, put out this drug throughout the course of Gotham. I just don't think it would have happened. I don't think the Cloudburst would have happened necessarily. However, I do still think the Arkham Knight would have been in this game, but it would have had much more meaning to it, right? For a multitude of different reasons. As we know, the Joker is the reason that the Arkham Knight is the way he is. He kidnapped him, tortured him, faked his death essentially, did everything that he could possibly do to just torture this guy for months and possibly even years. And Jason kind of has that anger towards Batman for abandoning him, but he'd also have that anger towards the Joker for putting him through that stuff. And initially, the reason why Jason Todd was caught, aka the Arkham Knight, for those of you who don't know, the Arkham Knight is Jason Todd, but the reason why he was caught is because he was going to kill the Joker initially, because of the fact that he just was sick and tired of this Batman Joker yin and yang all the time. So he wanted to put a stop to this once and for all and do it himself. So the fact he already wanted to kill this guy, imagine how he would feel about the Joker and how badly he'd want to kill him after the torture that Joker put him through for months and possibly years. However, the Arkham Knight might want a co-conspirator. He might want a teammate, someone to work alongside of him. And I don't think that Scarecrow would have been his go-to necessarily, because if you take something like a fear toxin and put it in the Joker, I don't think you're going to get much of a reaction. I don't really think there's anything that scares him. If a man's not scared to die or be punched or tortured, then there's not really much that he's going to be afraid of. So I don't think Scarecrow would have been the Arkham Knight's first option. Instead, he would have been more likely to go for someone like Two-Face or the Penguin, simply due to the fact that in Arkham City they had their rivaling, sorry, I can't really pronounce that word, rivaling, sections of the map where, Two-Face had one, Penguin had one, Joker had one. And they all, kind of had a common theme of wanting to kill each other. But I think Two-Face and Penguin specifically wanted to kill the Joker's crew. So I think that those two would have, kind of tied together to kind of work with the Arkham Knight, make that militia, and try to take out the Joker. I think that would have been the main priority. And I think, believe it or not, the main campaign in this game, the main story overall, probably would have been trying to save the Joker's life, because we know Batman believes that anybody could be rehabilitated. He will save literally anybody, and he says so at the end of Arkham City. He would have saved the Joker, so I think he would save him in this sort of context as well, which, if you guys remember from Batman Arkham Knight, there was those bank robbery side missions where you had to stop Two-Face's gang and stop Two-Face from robbing those banks. That same thing could have been in this game, but kind of as it's kind of in the main story, but it's also kind of like a side quest thing, where Two-Face is trying to get the money to be able to afford this militia, this army, all the equipment that he's going to need. I think that could have actually been a really cool addition. Instead of the fact, the robberies were cool in themselves, but there wasn't really a lot of motivation behind it besides he just wants money. But if he wanted to get this money, specifically for the purpose of being able to purchase weapons, an army, various types of equipment like tanks and such, that could have been a much more feasible reason and a much better reason for me to get behind. And even the Penguin side mission with all the arms dealing and stuff going on, that also could have played into the main story. You could have made those two like they're not side missions, but they're not main quests. But if you could take those guys out, it can lead you to the main guy, which is the Arkham Knight. Which, when you put it that way, really does build a very interesting story. And now that I say that, I'm really angry that Rocksteady didn't do this. I kind of wish they would have went down that path. That would have been amazing. But I would imagine that Batman would be protecting the Joker to some sort of degree. He would put his life on the line in order to protect him. And because this is the last Batman Arkham game in this sort of installment, at least, where, I know we got Batman Arkham Shadow after, but that takes place before the events of Asylum. So, canonically, is that the word? Canonically, it's the last thing that takes place in this timeline. So, you could have had Joker still die at the end of Batman Arkham Knight. And it would have been like the conclusion to the series, the end of the timeline, and it could have been a much more hitting thing than to kill the Joker off right after the second game. But if you don't want to go down the main story path, because by this point we've played 3 games with the Joker, people are sick of the Joker. And this is something I mentioned that could have been in Arkham Shadow if the game was big enough to the point where they could have had this. And that's DLC. If this game had DLC, they could have had like a Joker story, right? Which they do, but that takes place before the events of Arkham Asylum. It's not really anything that's like too important overall, to be honest. But honestly, if you were to have some sort of DLC that takes place with the Joker after the events of Arkham Knight, Joker's not in the main game at all, but if he's in a DLC, kind of similar to like a Cold Heart, Harley Quinn's Revenge, that type of DLC, then honestly, I could absolutely, get behind having a Joker DLC, because that's extra content. You don't have to play that. You can absolutely pay for it, because yes, while a lot of people thought the Joker was overused, there's also a chunk of people that love having the Joker, because this franchise is literally about the Batman and the Joker. It's about their entire relationship through and through. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, and even Arkham Knight. Even though that's a mental battle, that's still about the Batman and Joker's relationship. The Joker, even being dead, still takes things away from Batman and tortures him on a day-to-day basis. So I think that having a DLC at the end could have worked just as well if the developers wouldn't want to go down that path. But we all know that they wouldn't have just done a DLC. Because like I said before, the Joker sells. Right? The Joker sells. And that's a fact. It would get more sales, I guess you should say. It would get the game off the shelves. And so they probably would put the Joker into the main game overall, which kind of makes this, this added thing a little bit silly if you think about it. But honestly, this is just a little bit of extra fun if they didn't want to put him down into the main story. But guys, this is what I think would have happened if Joker had survived in Batman Arkham City. But let me know what your guys' thoughts, because this could have been all over the place. To me, this makes perfectly good sense about the main story theory or about the possible DLC branching. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. But honestly, the way that I picture that story going down, it honestly probably would have been better than the story that we got in Arkham Knight. But I understand Joker's dead, so we can't really have that, right? But let me know if you guys want to see more game theory videos, because this is something that's actually a lot of fun to make. I actually enjoyed making this video, and I really hope you guys enjoy watching this. Make sure to subscribe. We gotta get to 1,000 subs. We gotta do it. We didn't do it by the end of the year, but that's okay. If we do get to 1,000 subs, I will still do the 4 Batman Arkham games in one day on stream. Don't you guys worry. There'll be plenty of that to come. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you all have an amazing night, and see you later. Peace!